Right. I'm going to go ahead and get the recording going because I've had several ask me, is this going to be recorded? And I said, yes. So, welcome, everybody. Welcome to our first Wow Wednesdays. We're going to talk about testimonials with the AO scan. We've got Dr. Sheila Day here. She is a mover and a groover with this AO scanner. She's doing incredible. She's getting a great team together of lots of different naturopaths and doctors. So we are so glad to have her on the call too. And we're going to be doing this on a weekly basis. Just to kind of get things rolling, because a lot of people want to know, what's this AO scanner going to do for me? So we really want to share some stories. And if there's anybody that's here on the call and they want to share a story real quick, unmute yourself and go ahead. And we'll let you go for it. Yeah. Yeah. I hear Terry. I think she mute. Anybody? Well, okay. Well, I'm going to jump in there and share one of my testimonials. I use the AO scanner quite a bit with my grandchildren. In fact, I can tell you a time that Samuel he spent the night with us, and he woke up and kind of had he is a little warm. He had a fever going on, and we could tell his tummy wasn't feeling right. We couldn't figure out really what was going on. So I decided, well, I'll go ahead and scan him, I'll optimize him. And I did, and I found that he had probably some sort of a little stomach bug by reading his scan. So then I made a Cephi playlist and started running that on him immediately. I gave him some homeopathic remedies, because I do practice homeopathy quite a bit with my grandchildren and my family. And so I gave him some homeopathic remedies, and then we ran the Cephi on him, and within I'd say about 30 minutes, that fever came down. His mom and dad came over to pick him up, because they had spent the night. And I told her, I said, he was not feeling good this morning at all. And I went ahead and, took the liberty, because I've got permission to do this with the grandkids, took the liberty to go ahead and give him some homeopathics, and ran the Cephis on him, ran a scan and everything. And she goes, oh, I'm so glad you did that. By the time they went home that afternoon, he was completely normal. So we're not sure what he kind of got, if he just had like a little 24-hour thing. We're not really quite sure. But to me, that was amazing, because we saw it just completely clear up just immediately. And I'm like, oh, wow, this little scanner is powerful. And then recently I've got my little dachshund dog that was really, really sick. And I continually ran Cephis on her. And Dr. Gursky is our animal educator, our veterinarian with Solex. And he told me, he says that little dog was in organ failure with the scans that he saw on her. And he asked me whenever I went down to Texas, he says, what all did you do with her? And I said, well, Dr. Gursky, I just ran Cephis on her continually. I had a friend, Beverly McClendon, that's on the call tonight. She did some raindrop therapy on her. We took her to a holistic vet. We did all kinds of things for this little dog, but that scanner was consumed with her. And it took a good, probably, I'd say, a good week to get her through everything, but she's still here with us today, and she's healthier than she was when she started. So those are some of my testimonies. And again, I just want to open the floor up. If anybody has anything that they want to share, any type of experience that you've had with the AO scanner, feel free to unmute yourself, because I'm sure if I was on a call like this, I'd want to hear even the simplest things. So feel free to unmute and let us know what kind of experience you've had with AO scanning.
Tammy, I'll share.
Okay.
I was going to share.
Will you want to go ahead?
She said, go ahead,
Okay.
Beverly.
Okay. I actually have two things I'm going to share. One is human and one is animal. So on the human side, my mother was in a memory care unit because she had dementia and was very neglected, and had to go out to the ER, had the worst UTI I, as a nurse, had ever seen. I had never seen infection literally run out of someone's body. And she was nonverbal. I had the ambulance bring her from the ER to me, and there she remained with us. She was on 2 antibiotics, and I was pushing water like crazy. That was on January 13th. And on February 2nd, I went in and said, "Good morning, Mama." And she said, "Good morning." First time I'd heard her voice in over a month. Nurse practitioner could not believe she had not gone septic. So at this point, we also had hospice on board, and they were recommending that we give an antibiotic as a prophylactic. And I didn't want to do that because my mother was very allergic to medications. And I knew that, you know, if she developed a tolerance to that one, that we would just literally be in a jam because there wouldn't be anything else to give her. So I was running Cephes. I did in her voice, and I would keep this scanner on sometimes in her room all night long, because at night she would get into this endless loop of mama, 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 or Jesus, 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 Jesus. And then she'd want to sleep during the day. So I was trying to get that flip. So I would put the sleep frequencies on at night. But what I did, instead of an antibiotic, I took her antibiotic and I copied it. And then I imprinted into a little shot glass of purified water. And every day she was getting this. We never had another UTI up into the day that she passed away. And that was huge because we had chronic UTIs. She had been damaged from that bladder mesh surgery and could never empty her bladder fully and would require being straight cath. And then, of course, when she was in memory care, they just put in a catheter. And, you know, that just breeds more infection. So that's my human side. On the dog side, I was working with a boxer. His name was Truman. And Truman all of a sudden just kind of crashed, and his fur mama took him to the same vet that Tammy took Piggy Britches to. And after all this testing they did, realized there was a lot of fluid, possibly blood in the abdomen. Long story short, he opened up Truman and discovered that Truman had cancer of the spleen. He went to lift the spleen to remove it, and Truman quit breathing and his heart stopped. And despite all efforts, they could not bring him back. So Doc went out to tell his fur mama that Truman didn't make it through surgery. Of course, she's just screaming and crying, and Doc was crying. And then he suddenly left the room. She thought it's because she was so upset. And then in a little bit, he came back. Truman had randomly took a breath on his own, and his heart started back. So he got the spleen out and sewed him up. He told me, I said, "Have you ever witnessed anything like this in your veterinary practice?" He said, "Not in 30 years. And I'm accepting it for what it was. This is a miracle." So Truman did wind up getting a little infection in that incision, and he had to go back, and they were going to have to put him under once again. And by this time, he was a little bit snarky about getting poked and prodded and all the things he had been through. So the clinic called me and wanted to know if I could run some frequencies for Truman. They really needed to start an IV, and he wasn't going to allow it. And I said, sure. So I had him in my scanner, and I started running frequencies. And in about 15 minutes, I called the clinic and I said, can you see any difference in Truman? And they went, oh yeah, we got his IV started. And the clinic, by the way, is about, this was at the Shawnee Clinic, Tammy. So that was about 30 minutes from me. It's in another town. So, you know, I thought this was huge. Just, you know, being able to see those kinds of results, and huge believer in using it with, you know, animals as well as people. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you for sharing, Beverly. You know, with animals, there's no placebo effect. And I do want to jot in here real quick, AO Skin technology is not a medical device. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. So I do want to put that disclaimer in there to let everybody know that we don't want anyone to think this is a medical device, because it's not. But it does educate our body into helping to heal itself. So that is why it's so wonderful. Carolyn, go ahead with your.
Well, first of all, I have a question. How do you imprint an antibiotic?
You actually go to your Cephi program. So when you open up your Cephi program, you're going to see the little imprint button. So
Right.
then you'll put the antibiotic on the bottom screen, and then you'll put some homeopathic pellets on the top screen, and then you hit start. And it actually
Does it work?
Yeah, it puts the energy of the antibiotics into the homeopathic pellets. I have done this. It is not recommended. Lauren has even stated this from the platform that we should not be doing this, but we've had many people that have done this, and the energies from the antibiotic or whatever medication there is, they still feel the effects without the toxic effects.
Wow, I didn't know that. Well, my story is just real. I have a lot of stories, but the one I was going to share was the one where my eyes kept coming up. My eyes were all red. So many things in my eyes were double reds. So when I went to my eye doctor, I actually printed my scans off and took it to him, and it came out that I had an eye infection, which my eyes didn't hurt, they didn't itch, they didn't feel anything. But he gave me some stuff, and I'm okay, and my scans are better. But I would have never known, because I told him, I said, I have no symptoms. So that was really neat. But I have more, but that's probably the one that's, you know, and then it was just so nice to be able to take that to my eye doctor and show him what it said, rather than me trying to explain, because if I was trying to explain that, you know, they would have just blown me off.
Yeah. Well, I have one kind of similar to that. If you guys are willing to hear it, it's one of my older ones, but it was one of them that I actually told Lauren when I went to visit him for the first time. Early on, whenever I got my scanner, one of my team members had scanned a young mother. She had, at the time, she had I think a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old. So this was back in November of 2020. And the team member of mine called me up, and she says, Tammy, she says, this girl, you know, that I scanned, she's been having some problems in her head area, and she's been to several doctors, and they cannot figure out what's going on with her. And finally, one doctor basically told her that she probably has a detached retina starting, because her mother also had similar issues with that all through her life. So But the young mother said, no, I don't think that that's it. I just intuitively, I just don't feel like that's my issue. So I told this team member of mine, I said, well, go ahead and send her my scans and let me see what I can, gather from what I'm seeing in it. And so she did. She sent me 2 days worth of her scans. And when we opened up the comprehensive and we looked at the vessels and the veins in her head, on one side, and I believe if my memory serves me right, it was on the left side of her head. And this was actually where she was having the problems. But the left side, the vessels and the veins were all double nines and double ones. And I said, something's not right with this. Something's not right with this scan. And I couldn't pinpoint it. I'm not a doctor. And I told my team member, I said, please, if you have her phone number, could I, give her a call? And so she did better than that. She had the girl call me. And the girl called me and I told her, I said, look, I said, I'm not a medical doctor. And I think the scan is, there's something here that maybe you need to go and see about getting a neurologist to do maybe an MRI or a CT with some dye. Now, normally I don't encourage things like that, but in her situation, I felt like she needed some extra testing there. And I've been in the medical field for some time, and this was just something that I was, I've been used to. I've worked for doctors, so I kind of knew. I thought, maybe she needs to go have MRI, CT scan, and a neurologist is just something that just popped in my head. And I thought, just go and see what this doctor, if you can find one that will listen to you. So she did. Took her about a month and a half to finally find a neurologist that would listen to her and listen to the things that she was having. Now, her symptoms was that she was having constant headaches on it, and it would kind of stay on that left side. She was having pressure behind her left eye, which was why one of the doctors said, well, maybe you're just having a detached retina issue. And she just kept on saying, no, this is not what's going on. And finally, she finally got a neurologist to do an MRI scan with dye, and they found an aneurysm on the left side of her brain behind her left eye. She was able to get treatment, and this would have ended her life. The doctor told her, had we not caught this when we did, it probably would have ended your life. So when I told Lauren that, I told him that story, he broke down and just started crying. We were at a luncheon with a bunch of us, and he says, now, Tammy, this is why the AO scan needs to be in the hands of everybody. And I said, I agree, Lauren. So that was an incredible story. The mom is doing great. She now has the AO scanner. She uses it with her kids. And as far as I know, she's doing well. She had it surgically removed, and she's doing fine. So that was such a wonderful story to hear.
So her symptoms were the left side of her head and her eye.
Yep.
Okay.
She even had times where she was vomiting. And then she also had times where she felt like she was just kind of weak and she would pass out. And I mean, she had symptoms for a while. She'd been trying to chase down a doctor for over 6 months, and she had pretty much tapped out all of her insurance coverage. And I actually think she had to pay for that MRI out of pocket, if I remember right. So incredible, just incredible. Anybody else like to share anything? Got a few more jumping in. So glad to have you guys.
Yes, welcome. I have a couple. So good to see you all here tonight. I'm so looking forward to doing this on a weekly basis and hearing all the exciting things that people are experiencing, either personally or with others that they know. I'm still pretty new, but let's see, it's been probably a month ago, my youngest granddaughter got really sick. And I just asked Mom, what is she experiencing? What are you seeing? And I just put a program together real quick for her and just ran it all night. By the next morning, she was doing a lot better. Could be coincidence. I don't know. But the very next day, my mom's texting me, Sheila, I'm really sick. I feel horrible. I've got a 105-degree fever. It came out of nowhere. I don't know what's going on, but I feel like I need to go to the ER. Doesn't want to go to the ER. I work so hard to keep all of my family out of allopathy. So she's like, what should I do? Well, I told her all the natural things to do. Also asked, what are the things you're experiencing? Plugged it all in, built her a program. I said, I'm going to broadcast to you all night. She doesn't know if she believes in all this or not either. And, I didn't know either. So I ran all night long. Next morning, she texts me. She says, I think I'm going to survive. She says, I'm not 100%, but I feel a whole lot better and I'm not scared. Oh God, that made me feel good because she's an hour from me and I am so busy. I feel so guilty when I can't just drop what I'm doing to go see to my parents. That very next day, so this is day 3 now, the sister of my youngest grandbaby, my other granddaughter, she's sick now. She's really sick. Build her a program, broadcast all night. By morning, she's a lot better. She can go to school. Then my dad, day 4. My dad's deathly sick. And my mom is like, I don't know if I need to take him to the ER. And I'm like, tell me what's going on. Plug it in, running programs all night long. Next morning, dad's doing better, not 100%, but much better, can function. They're not going to the ER. And I'm like, 4 days in a row. Are you freaking kidding me? First of all, thank you, God, that it didn't all hit on the same day, because at that time I didn't know how to run multiple programs. So who knows? Maybe it's fluke. I don't know, but I just have to think that we did something.
I had something similar happen to me. I have 2 piano students, and one day the piano student, the mom came and 2 of her siblings came, and long story short, they all ended up with COVID. And I tested myself and I didn't have COVID, but I was very, very sick. And they're a lot younger than me, and they had to go to the emergency room, and they're still sick. And I'm not. And so I wasn't nearly as sick. And because I ran programs. Yeah, I ran constant programs, constant. And even though they're younger than I am, I didn't get as sick, and I got well so much faster. But again, you can't document that. So that's why I like my story of my eye doctor, because you can kind of document it. But, and it could have been just a fluke, like you said, but they're still coughing, and they're so much younger than I am. Anyway, had to add that.
Thank you, Carolyn. The scanner and the frequencies, when we think about that, even when we say prayers for people, that affects them. So when we're setting that intention and we're making that playlist and we're thinking about this person, this is just like a extra thing to kind of help them along. And I've had it happen more times than any, where I'm running something for someone and they will message me and they'll say, gee, I had a headache when I texted you, but I think it's finally gone. And I'm like, I know. I think it's just amazing. So, there are just so many things that you can do with the AO scanner and help people across the globe. You don't have to be right there with them. And that is what is so incredible about this technology. And you can even do fun stuff with it. I have made playlists for my bank account. And let me tell you, when I run the abundance frequencies or the abundance Sephi playlist that I have, it is always comes back in blessings to me. It is the wildest thing. And like Dr. Sheila says, is it a fluke? I don't think so. But
I don't know, but I'm right there with you, because when I'm playing those, I wake up in the morning and I've got all these messages of people wanting this and wanting that. And it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. I just recently started a little group, a transformation group, and I've been running Sephis on this transformation group nightly, and it's been a lot of abundance type Sephis. So I'm looking forward to seeing what my group members start to say after several days. We're only on day 4, but every night I make up a new playlist. especially if I hear from him and they say, hey, Tammy, I'm kind of struggling with this, or this, I'll go, okay, I'll add that to the playlist tonight and I'll play that all through the night for him. So I'm looking forward to finding out from my team members or my group members what they're feeling and what they're experiencing, because I truly believe this technology is amazing. So, all right, we got 5 more minutes before the company call starts. Does anybody else have any other testimony they'd like to share, or if they have any questions about it? If you've been invited here and maybe you don't have the AO scanner, but you've been thinking about it, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
Me.
Yes,
Me.
Crystal.
I've been I'm in phase 2 right now. I have spent 3 weeks heavy studying. That's my nature. Okay. Okay. So you guys reminded me, yeah, there's something weird did happen. Just before Thanksgiving, I had what my massage therapist says, well, this is plantar fasciitis. I said, okay, well, let's talk about that. What's the cause? And so he couldn't answer me. So I said, okay. So the next day I went ahead and scanned myself and found that there's a nerve, a plantar nerve, actually several. And I found that mine was a bit inflamed. I said, well, why? I want to know why. So I just kept going to the massage therapist. I kept trying to pinpoint the why. I kept doing my stretches and seeing how the sciatic nerve was related and then all that stuff. So I kept more and more my stretches and everything started coming together. And then on Monday this week, usually every day I will have a late breakfast and it will be eggs. And I ran my scan in the morning, on Monday morning, and it said eggs 9 all across, 9, previous and current. I said, I did not have eggs on Sunday. I was too busy. I hadn't eaten breakfast yet. I said, I'm going to run another experiment. I'm going to not eat eggs. And so the next morning I woke up, I could walk on that foot without trepidation and everything was fine. It has improved. I had a massage today and he did his little poking. I said, it's tender, but it is nothing like it has been. And I can move around. I can do things. I went to town near me and yesterday, and I was walking, and sometimes it got a little bit tiring, but I pushed through it, and everything is much better. So I am attributing it to, yes, the frequencies. I have no doubt about that, and also paying attention to when they say eggs. And I need to change up things, but I'm so busy because this is incredible information. I can't even finish a painting that I'm trying to paint the borders. That's all, but I'm too busy. I'm trying to even sleep, and I'm always drinking my water. It's just like, yeah. So I have a question. One of you had mentioned printing printing, whatever, if it's
Imprinting.
Imprint.
No, no, not imprinting. I know, but who are you?
Oh,
Carol.
printing a report.
Right, that's exactly what I mean. How did you do?
Tammy has a video on that.
Okay,
But the key is to download that page. So you're looking at your page and you download it and then you print it. Because if you try to print it from the screen, it's all goofy. So download it first. But Tammy's got a really good video.
okay. Well, I just got, like I said, I'm in the middle of the phase 2, and I finally got access to the database, to part of it, the very first part.
Wow.
And I'm trying to understand. I mean, I basically do understand. I still have questions, but do I print? Can I print then just whatever section from comprehensive that would then go to, say, a doctor if I needed to? Is that what you're saying?
You should be able to, Crystal. I have not played around with that feature on the comprehensive. So I have to look at that. And if I play around with it, I'll do a video on it and
Or
post
probably
it.
probably just download it and print it. I
Yeah,
don't see
I
why it would
think
be
you
different
can.
than the
Yeah.
other one.
Okay.
Well, you can, I know that you can do the, the regular view of like the report, like what you normally get, or you can get the view of actually the organs. So I think
Okay.
we'll have to figure out if you can do that. Just look at it when you go to print it and see if you've got a download option. And if you do on either one of those, then print that section.
Mhm.
I think I'm just getting too much information. I'm learning that I need to narrow everything down.
Yeah.
But I've been having too much fun.
Yeah.
Okay, I got
And
it.
I hate to tell you, but it's time for the Solex call.
It
Okay.
is. You
Thank
guys,
you,
we are
ladies.
so glad to have you, and we'll see you next
Yes.
week.
Okay,
Thank
bye-bye.
you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.